Kerry Schafer, great to have you back on the Rocky Mountain Writer podcast.
I am so excited to be here talking to you again.
Yeah, from Washington State.
Yeah, where we are having unprecedented shape. It's like nothing like this has ever happened here before. We don't know what to do.
I mean, the news headlines out of the Northwest have just been crazy about the weather. It's just unprecedented.
It's like in our we don't have air conditioning, and it was 112 one day last week. So we now live in a cave. We've had open window treatments. We live on 40 acres, so we don't even have curtains. We have quilts hanging in all the windows. We got my Viking came up with this very handy dandy. Actually, he made a window cover for the kitchen window out of my old planning boards for writing a story that happened to be around. So he cut that out, and then he cut this little window, lift it and look and see what the thermometer says. But anyway, it's all dark and we just stay in there. Anyway.
Wow. How hot did it get? You're near Spokane. You're not near Spokane, but somewhere up there.
We're near Spokane. We're about 70 miles from Spokane. We got about 112, which I don't think it's ever been over 100 for us. And that's in August, usually for a couple of days. So in June, it's just, just hasn't happened.
Wow.
It's crazy, but we're living. It's okay.
Did it affect your writing schedule? That's the main thing.
In my brain. It was really funny. My brain melted. I would try and think and just felt like there was molasses up here. Weird for me. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, we're excited to have you back on the podcast. I was going to look back and see how many times we've had you on. It's got to be 5 or 6, but I always so enjoy talking to you. You just bring so much energy and excitement about what you do. And it's just always a pleasure to chat with you about this crazy business that we are in. And I was just so thrilled to see the email come through about your new announcement that you have a new book, and this time you're going indie with the one that's coming out this month.
Yeah. So this is a really fun adventure for me. I'm having a blast with it, actually. And I'm not expecting it to finance my life. So I can just play. And really, it's a dream come true for me, because I started these books. I was realizing Dead Before Dying, which is the first book in the Shadow Valley series. I wrote that back before I ever became Kerry Anne King or even thought about being Kerry Anne King. And my wisely, as it turns out, didn't think that it was going to sell necessarily to a good publishing house. So she suggested I become Kerry Anne King and start writing, which is, you've done really well for me. But I love these books and I always wanted to do something with them. So I recently got to the first 2 books. I had sold them to a small press, which is a story I don't want to get into. I got my rights back and I produced them, put them out indie, and I finally wrote book 3 and putting that out in the world on July 13th, because why not? I decided it would be my.
So walk us through that series, the titles of the first 2 so far.
Okay. The first book is called Dead Before Dying. The second one is World Tree Girl. And the one that is coming out next is Before Dinner.
I say it again, the new one.
The new one is Dead Before Dinner.
Great. Yeah, excellent. And for those folks who don't know, you already mentioned that you started, how the 2 names got separate, but describe these 2 different worlds you've got going now, because they are kind of distinct writerly voices.
They are really quite different. There are some things that are very much in common, so I'll talk about both, about what's different. So as Kerry Anne King, I write women's fiction, really essentially is relationship drama, stories about people who are on journeys of discovery to become in my world, who they were meant to be. I to bring a little bit of magic into that world too, so we can talk about that, because I finally managed to sneak it in there. Fantasy lover from the beginning. The Dead Before Dying Shadow Valley books are totally just weird, to be honest. They're this weird mishmash of and paranormal and kind of buddied up to horror with funny, quirky characters and dark humor. It's hard to describe them.
Yeah. And your audiences are, do you think there's some overlap in your audience and your readership?
There's some. It's really actually, it's kind of funny because I gave away some of the Shadow Valley books a while ago and encouraged my Kerry Anne King readers to give them a try. And one of them very nicely posted a review that said, I don't usually read this kind of thing, but I thought experiment and I actually ended up loving it. So there's some cross, and I know some of my Kerry Schafer people have crossed over into reading Kerry Anne. It will be a little bit easier for them with the next couple of books, I think, because I have been able to sneak a little bit of elements in there, which is just makes me happy, like I said.
Yeah. Well, take us a little bit deeper into the whole world of the, everything that's happening with Dead Before Dinner. What's the latest going on with your protagonists? Take us into the setting and walk us around.
So for those of you, which is probably most of you, who are not at all familiar with Shadow Valley Manor, what this is about, the main character, I love her. Her name is Maureen. She is an older female protagonist as a paranormal investigator. Usually books that you get with paranormal stories, the female leads are younger, although there is being a trend now that I love called women's paranormal fiction with characters who are midlife or older. So Maureen just fits right in there, I think. She's turning 60 when the series starts, and she has been wounded in action. She's been working for doesn't want her anymore because she's aging out and she's been wounded. And she discovers when she gets out, the husband has taken a girlfriend. So what's she going to do? She gets offered a job to go investigate undercover-ish in a retirement facility called Shadow Valley Manor. Doesn't want to do this. She expects it's going to be boring, not what she wants. She's not old yet. She's just, kind of wounded, which has held her back a little. But when she gets there, she discovers that there are all kinds of paranormal elements at play. There's an evil, dark, dangerous evil that has been awakened in the manor. She discovers that there are things like secret passages and all kinds of fun things. She meets the sheriff of Shadow Valley, who, although he really doesn't want to have much to do with the paranormal, can't help noticing things are going on, and he's pretty foxy for an older guy. So, there's a little undercurrent going on. It's not a main thing. Anyways, I don't want to tell you too much. There's some really fun, quirky characters that Maureen learns to work with in solving her mysteries. So one of them is the Undertaker's daughter, Sophronia, who has a very unusual relationship with the dead. So we have Sophronia, we have Matt, the facility cook, who is a former sharpshooter, who has some excellent knife skills and some mysteries of his own. And they begin solving these paranormal crimes. When we get to Dead Before Dinner, the first crime that we discover is one of the residents in the manor laid out on a kitchen, not on the kitchen, on the dining room table with a placemat, complete place setting on her chest. She's, dead. And there's no obvious reason. So although Jake, the sheriff, would like to believe that this is a normal, some sort of crime, maybe a serial killer on the loose, Maureen knows that there is a paranormal element loose and sets to figure out what it is.
Are the books standalones, or is there a through line in terms of bigger issues that are being worked on through all three books?
Read as standalones, there definitely is a time. So I think, it's better to start at the beginning and read all the way through, but attempted to design them so that you can pick up any one of the books and start there.
Now, let's talk just a little bit about the whole indie process. Can you walk us through? I mean, here you've been so well published by some fabulous publishers, and your reviews are just in the, anybody going online can see you've got a very, very large following. What, how did you approach the publishing indie thing? What did you turn to some other outside resources? Did you, editing, graphic design? What was your production approach?
So starting at the you have to have a really good product, and that's true whether you're going to be indie or go traditional route. You need a good book, it needs to be well edited, and you need a good cover. So those are things that I was willing to pay for. I went out and found an awesome cover designer. I really love these guys, and of course now I should tell you who they are, and I can never remember.
Yeah.
I can never remember names, but it's in like the cover of the book in the copyright. Actually, they're in there. So I found a good cover designer, found a good editor. This time I did not do a developmental edit. I had a lot of really good friends. Susan Spann read for me. You guys, a lot of you know Susan Spann. Yep. And a few other people who gave me feedback. And then I did pay for a good copy editor, and then I go through it again after copy edits always, no matter who my copy editor is, and I'll always find a bunch of stuff that needs fixing. So did all of that, but along the way over the last years I've been teaching myself how to do things. So I had figured out how to do formatting, so I know how to do that. I use Vellum, and that's easy enough to do, so I set that all up and got it all up online. I experimented. So I'm doing an Amazon pre-order, which was new to me, but I figured out how to do that. I got a BookBub, which just went live yesterday. So that was really fun. I wanted to bring up the ranking of, I did the BookBub, I should clarify, for the first book in the series, Dead Before Dying.
Good.
Right? Because the idea is that I want people to start with that book and then hopefully get through the series.
And just to clarify, was that a BookBub ad, or did you go?
No, I got the BookBub special, whatever you call that. I know it's confusing between the ad and the.
That's a huge deal.
Yeah, it pushed the book up to, it was up above 300 in the Kindle store yesterday, which made me happy because it started from significantly. Yeah. Something I didn't realize, but I've been taking some classes on Amazon stuff lately, but once your book has languished, as a few of my books did, it's really difficult to bring them back in the Amazon algorithm. It's decided that they're clunkers, and so even they get a nice big boost, it doesn't want to keep that going. So it's a bit of a challenge. Yeah, I hadn't realized that, to come back from
come back from the dead.
Yeah, pretty much. It's zombie books, right? But I did, and I've also taken some classes lately on running Amazon ads. So I have my Amazon ads running, and I'm doing a Facebook takeover on July 13th to have some fun online. And I pay blog tour, which is something I always do with my traditional books. So I decided to do that too.
Wow. Did you do both your physical book and your ebook through Amazon, or did you use another? Okay. Yeah.
No. I did the ebook through Amazon,
right,
and the physical book I do Ingram Spark.
Yeah, that's what I
love Ingram. They're beautiful, and then they'll distribute widely to a variety of other places. So, and Dead Before, actually, before I did the BookBub, the first book in series, I actually took it off its Amazon exclusive, put it up on all of the other sites so that I could have more chance of getting a BookBub because it was in more places. So I've been doing a lot of, actually, it's kind of fun. I like doing this stuff.
You're spending a lot of time on the dashboard for KDP, and you're spending a lot of time on the dashboard for Ingram Spark, at least getting it set up. Yeah. Cool. Well, the Amazon ads, I don't want to belabor this too much or give Amazon too much airtime necessarily, but I find the Amazon ads thing confusing about the bids, and here put in this amount, but you don't end up spending that amount. You end up spending way less than what you say you want to budget based on the bidding. And I get confused.
Yeah, I'm trying not to think about it too much. I'm doing kind of plug and play. I have purchased over the last few years a couple products. So I sprung for Mark Dawson's really fabulous self-publishing formula series, and he teaches you really like step by step. Here's how you set up your account. Here's how you find keywords. Here's how you enter them in. It's like really detailed step-by-step hand holding. And then I also found a much more affordable but very good ad series by Penny Sanseveri. She's been to Colorado Gold. I met her there. Her last name is spelled Saneveri, I think. So that is also some really good information in there that also included doing things that were free that I didn't know about, like with your Amazon Author Central page to get more keywords in there and bring people to your books. So I learned some interesting stuff from her that I didn't know.
Yeah, that's great. So do you enjoy that? You don't enjoy that as much as writing, but it's something you are, I mean, I can't imagine you enjoy that as much as writing, but
it's fun. Actually, I'm a weird this way. I love learning new stuff. I would be a perpetual student if anybody had ever paid for me to do it. So given the time and the energy, I will take classes and experiment with all kinds of things. It's fun. And get really monotonous really fast if I do it forever, maybe.
yeah.
But on the first go round, it's something new, different, and I'm really actually enjoying it.
Yeah. Just to give folks an idea, how many months did you put into preparing this launch date for Dead Before Dinner? Is this something you started on 6 months ago, 10 months ago?
No. You don't want to know. No. You don't want to know the truth of that. Actually, I'm totally winging this. What happened was I had a resolution at the beginning of the year that I was going to get 3 books out this year. One is the one that I'm contracted for, and I'm also writing another one, by the way, which is like so insane. My Lake Union Kerry Anne King book launches on September 21. I have a manuscript due to them on October 1st. So I'm putting together promo for that one and writing that one. But I also planned to get this 3rd Shadow Valley book out because I meant to do it last year and it didn't. So it was really, I'm going to do this thing. And then I have another nonfiction book for managing anxiety, stress in the writer life that I really want to write and get out this year. So my schedule, and I was like, if I want to publish this book, I need to do it. And I need to do it now. So I gave myself, I think, 6 weeks.
Wow.
From the time I announced that I was actually
Yeah. That is nuts.
Crazy.
Yeah. Wow. When you bear down, you bear down.
I get a little obsessive. I have a lot of mark, and so my time is always challenged. I'm teaching classes. I have this little service. It's not little anymore, really nicely coach. Called Author Genie. So it's not just coaching. I'm actually doing virtual assistant services for authors as well. So I'm doing news for a bunch of people, and I've been helping with promo and helping them get set up to figure out strategies and, doing all kinds of things. Wow. So if I want to do a thing with a book, I really just have to make it crazy. It's like, I'm going to do this and doing it now. And then I have to make time because I have a deadline.
Wow. Why do you have other, without getting into numbers, I would assume based on what I see about how well your books do, you don't have to do anything else.
I do have to do other things. As a matter of fact, it's, how it is, you guys sell a lot to make a lot of money. And so I had one book that did extremely well for me. That was Whisper Me This. So that got the ball rolling. That was Kerry Anne King book. And that did pretty well. And then last year's not so much. So really what happened was it has great reviews. It's been reviewed well, but it didn't sell. And I got why, we never know. So people who read it love it. I don't know. So I had a moment where I looked at my life and my schedule and my money. And I was like, I have this many months before I have to go get a day job if things don't turn around. Well, I'm not about to go back to a day job. So I started looking at what other streams of income, what else would be fun? What do I have the skills, abilities for that I would actually enjoy doing? Because I'm all about loving my life. I totally, that's my thing. Thing for most of my characters in my books is that I'm looking for them. So I just started looking at what would be fun, what could I do, what would be easy, and author genie popped into my head, and it actually took off really fast. I haven't done any marketing, and I'm always getting new clients coming in. I'm busy, so it's good.
Can you take us ahead to September? Tell us about the new Kerry Anne King. What's that all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So this book was so much fun. It's called Other People's Things, and it's the story of a young woman who has a unique sort of a problem. She is diagnosed as a kleptomaniac. So she is kind of in trouble. She is about to get divorced because she has moved some money that belonged to her husband, and he's threatening to send her back to prison for real this time. But here's the catch. Nicole moves things not because it's them or she's stealing them, but because somehow she knows that they do not belong where they are. She sees things that need to be moved. So she can't resist this, and she moves them around to keep them. It always gets her in trouble. But in this story, she then discovers that a whole chain of events begins when she book, just as old paperback from one place to another, and it opens up a mystery and another person's damaged and starts to bring all these elements together. So it's very fun. There's a lot of mystery. There's a little bit of magic. There's a lovely romance, a private investigator named Hawk, who her husband has hired to watch her, but he kind of develops some other ideas along the way. So it's fun. And it has some deep elements also, as my books always do. So you hopefully will laugh and cry and get to the end feeling wonderful, I hope.
Now, just so I followed that the husband hires the private investigator, who then there's a thing going on with the wife.
Maybe.
Okay. Where is this one set, and what inspired her?
It's set in Spokane. I took it out of Colville for once, not far. So Spokane's still not far from me. Here's how this book happened. I was ready to start a new book, and I didn't really have a good idea. And I actually sat down and opened a journal and wrote at the top of the page, auditioning for ideas. And then I think I wrote something like, no idea too small, all welcome to apply, whatever, being silly. And then I started writing down ideas, and I got to numbers. Oh, that's it. I'm totally in. So I love when that happens. It's kind of, magical moment.
What number was this one? What number?
For my women's fiction?
Yeah, no. I mean, in terms of the ideas.
Oh, it was number 3.
And what were the other 2? Why did you reject them?
I don't remember. Really, I was looking for the notebook because I want to write this out, and I can't find it for the life of me. I remember doing this. I remember where I was. I remember when I did it. I can't find it. Yeah. I don't know.
Kerry, it seems like you write with a lot of empathy and just character-driven, crawling inside the head of your characters and living there. And are you an outliner? It doesn't sound like you would be.
I try to outline, like with other people's things, for example, and the book I'm writing now, in order to get the way that I get my contracts with, like, I send a synopsis in the first couple of chapters and they buy it from that, but my editor knows, and I always warn her in case she forgets, that I write something for you, but it's going to change, and it's not going to be the same. So other people's things, for example, Hawk, the private investigator, he was not in the book when I was 3/4 through the first draft. I was stuck, and I didn't know what I needed to do next. And I was in the shower where my muse hangs out, and Hawk showed up in the shower, which is pretty cool. Like, hi, I'm Hawk. I'm a PI, and I'm here to fix your story. And I said, yes, you are. And we went from there. So it's fun. I try sometimes. I mean, I do some level of plotting. I know that I need certain things at certain times. I know where stakes raise goes. you call them turns, I call them doorways, whatever it is, everybody does. I know where those need to be in the book. I know something needs to go there. I generally have some kind of an idea, but inevitably, whatever it is that tells me what to write is holding something back, and it shows up late, and then I have to change everything.
What do you need as a writer on a regular, like on those daily basis, that daily trip into your characters' lives? What do you need as sort of touchstones or, you know, compass points to help you embody that world so you can know what your characters are thinking and what they need to do next? How do you do that?
Sometimes I just need to stop and think for a minute myself. Okay, here's my character. Here's where they were when they started. Here's the problem. And these are the things that have happened. Here's the emotion. I have to have a handle on what they're feeling, or I can't write, really. That for me is the big thing. So sometimes I have to go back to the beginning and sort of play through and make sure that through line is working again. I pull a lot on actually, I am doing a little mental health counseling again. That's another thing, to add, because I don't have it. So as a mental health counselor, I've learned every client, I really believe, has some place in their life, and not just clients, all of us, that is a big turning point. Before this and after this thing happened, and my life was never the same. You can call it the wound. It doesn't have to be a wound. It often is, but it can just be, some big thing that changed the way you see the world. So I try and have for every one of my characters, definitely all the major characters, some of the minor characters, and really drives that emotional thing about how they're going to react to what comes to them. And it's on a growth journey too. So I kind of keep that arc going. A lot of it, honestly, Mark, I don't sit down and that out. It's intuitive. I have a feel for, before I start writing my characters, I have a feeling of this is who this person is. And I know it internally, but I can't express it yet. And then the words and the story help me put them into the world. And if it doesn't feel right, I know it's not right. And then I have to stop and figure out why.
Yeah. Same process for Kerry Anne King and Kerry Schafer.
Pretty much. Kerry Schafer, the Shadow Valley books are a little tricky because they are mystery. They definitely do have a mystery that needs to be solved. And they went from plotting probably. Or more plotting, because with a mystery you have those, you have to have the mystery happens really early in the book, and then the clues and the investigation. And I did have that structure in my head as I worked, but I didn't necessarily know who did what exactly until I got to the very end, which is kind of fun, because if it's a surprise for me, then I figure it's going to be a surprise for the reader too.
Yep. That's great. So, and you said you're already working on the one that comes out in 2022.
Yeah, it's called Improbably Yours at this point. And it's a fun book about a young woman who is on a life track she really didn't want to be on. And on her 30th birthday, as her lover, who she's not really sure she wants to marry, is in public in front of all of her friends and family. Random seeming balloon guy walks in with a singing telegram and delivers a message and a task from her deceased grandmother that takes her off on an adventure to what she thought was an imaginary island that exists. So that's where that one starts. Sounds really fun. It's got treasure hunting and lost wishes and some deep, dark memories and secrets and all that kind of stuff. It's fun.
Wow. Kerry, can you look back? Can you look back before you were published? Do you remember that? Do you remember that self?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you believe how far you've come?
It's, sometimes it's really amazing, especially if I stop and look at the calendar and realize that I think it's been, we're at not quite 10 years since my first book came out. So it blows Honestly, it was a dream that I always had, that I used to think maybe never would do. And now here I am living this amazing life where I'm surrounded by books and writers, and that's almost all I do. And how cool is that?
Yeah. What, the typical question, I guess, but somebody listening to this saying, what is the key to this? How do I get from somebody with a bunch of ideas but no titles to their name yet, no works out there in the world? What's the key to pushing through and making this a reality?
Honestly, I believe there are a couple things. One is you have to write, and you have to write because you want to write and you love the writing. That has to come first. This is not an industry you want to get into for games if you don't have a firm on that, because coming into collision course really with the business of publishing destroys a lot of people. I think you know that, Mark. You've seen it. I've seen it. You have to really have a firm handle on, I'm doing this right, and I will write no matter what happens. I think that comes first. Finish the book. Always, always, always finish the book. And when you finish a book, write another one and make it. That's where it starts. And then you got to start putting yourself there and get some energy flowing in the direction you want to go. And people call it luck. I think you can't you haven't done the work first. So you got to have the book, you got to have your skills, you got to do it because you love it. And then if you keep going, or later you're going to make a connection with somebody or something, be in the right place at the right time, and then you get your lucky break.
Yeah. And just in terms of the decision to go indie, at some point, even if let's say you are out there and you can't get an agent, and obviously the agent can't help you get a publisher, there is absolutely 0% wrong with choosing to put your work out in the world.
Absolutely. I think it's wonderful. The indie thing, because when I first got into this business, I'm going to admit that I was a little snobby about indie. And I think some of that's because there are people who just throw stuff out there and don't bother to put in the time to make it professional. But there are amazing and awesome indie books out there, and people that are doing incredible work. And I think especially you got to decide what you want. They're two very different worlds, or you can do both, like I'm doing, and experiment depending on what you're writing, depending on what you want. There's this illusion, a lot of people, it's a delusion really, that a lot of people have, that if you get a traditional publisher, you don't have marketing that you do as indie. It's simply not true. It doesn't matter who you're published by, unless they decide that you are their number one rock star child and they give you that $1 million advance, which happens less often than lightning strikes. They're not going to do a whole lot of stuff for you. So we all get to do marketing, and I think the trick to the way to just make it fun. Life is short. Have fun. Don't do this and be miserable.
Yeah. And get some readers. There's nothing wrong with putting your work out there in the world and getting some readers.
Absolutely. Yeah. And get the feedback, and get a little bit of a tough skin so that you can take the feedback that you didn't necessarily want to decide if it's any good, and then apply it to the next book, so that you're not continually revising the same book ever and ever, but you're growing by writing new things.
Right. Excellent. Yeah, and it is something you can control. Even if you do get a publisher, when you indie publish, you do get to choose the cover. You do get to choose the pagination style, the layout inside. You can put in some illustrations if you want to, and and you're in charge. So make it everything you want it to be. Yeah.
Right. And some people really get into that and think that that's really fun. And for some people, that's like, oh my God, I don't want to do that, and in which case, if you want to go indie and you had the money, you can pay someone to do it for you, or you can keep going the traditional route, and then those things do get done for you and you don't have to worry about that part of it. So it all depends on, really, I think, what's.
Yep. Well, Kerry, wrapping up here, as always, chance to recommend another writer out there that's toiling away that you think deserves a little more attention. So maybe somebody you've been reading recently, or something
What have I been reading recently? I am going to talk about other books fiction books with magical elements, because these are so much fun. And I've been discovering that a lot of people are doing this right now. So I think one that would be fun for you to read is by Kim Neville. She's new, it was her first book, and she's not been as much as I think she could be. And her book is called, see, you always put me on the spot with these because I can never book titles. I am not going to be able to remember it, but
Okay,
the
well,
author's name is Kim.
You know what? We have the internet very handy here, and I will help in his cause. Kim
Okay,
Neville.
awesome.
Kim Neville, Nevill.
Nev is in Victor.
Yeah, Ille.
Yeah, she's got an absolutely gorgeous cover.
Yeah. And the title is, drum roll please, The Memory Collectors, by any chance?
Yes, that's
All
it.
right,
The
all right.
Memory Collectors.
The internet comes through.
So yeah, that one kind of is a little bit of a cross between my Kerry Anne King and my Kerry Schafer books, in that she goes kind of dark with her magic, and it kind of bears up on horror, but it's definitely strong women on a journey. It's a very interesting book. I enjoyed it very much.
That's great.
So there's a name for it.
That's a great recommendation. Well, Kerry Schafer / Kerry Anne King, we wish both of you lots of luck in 2021, moving ahead. And as always, such a pleasure to talk to you. Take care.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mark.